What's the longest car journey you have ever been on? For me, it's been about 4.5 hours, and in that time I travelled 250 miles. I've also spent 4.5 hours on an aeroplane, but because that travels faster, in that time I travelled 2,097 miles. Now, thinking about travelling on a plane, if you went from one side of the world to the other, say from the UK to Australia, that travelling time takes about 1 day. Now that is a long time travelling. And from that, I think it's easy to say that planet Earth, the world that we live on, is really big. But if we start to up the scale a little bit, how about if we travel to one of our nearest neighbours, so the planet Mars? Your travelling time would actually be between 6 to 8 months. Can you really imagine that your travelling journey time would actually be 6 to 8 months? That's a massive difference from a day. Now, as we think about our own solar system, the scales and distances keep getting bigger and bigger. And that's why us humans have not really travelled very far in our own backyard of space. Now, thinking back to our own planet, each day the sun rises, that golden orange ball of fire that gives us light, warmth and life. And without our sun, life would probably have never ever formed here on Earth. Now, our sun is actually a star. You know, one of them things you see in the night sky. But depending where you live actually influences how many stars you can see on a starry night. If you live in a city or a highly light polluted area, you probably see about 10% of what's really there. Now, the trouble with percentages is they don't really mean anything. So let's talk some numbers. With just your own eyes, in a city, you can see anywhere between 35 to 100 stars on a starry night. Now, if you travelled to somewhere where there's no light pollution and it was a truly dark sky, that number jumps to around 4,500 stars. And it would seem that in certain parts of the sky, that anywhere you were looking, there would just be stars everywhere. Now, if you start using binoculars or a telescope, that number just keeps increasing into the hundreds of millions of stars. In fact, our wider neighbourhood outside our solar system is the Milky Way galaxy. And within the spiral, we live about here. And it is estimated that in our Milky Way, there is 250 billion stars. Now, moving out of our galaxy, the next nearest galaxy to us is the Andromeda galaxy. And it is said that that could contain about 1 trillion stars. To be honest, the numbers start to get so big, it becomes difficult to imagine that number of stars. And in reality, here is the sad truth. We have to imagine travelling to such distant places, as in our short lifetimes we would surely die before the long journey even got started. So if intelligent life formed here on Earth, a planet revolving round one of them stars, then why are we left asking the question, are we alone? Are we the only intelligent life in the universe? Now, if we try and comprehend what we've just said, that in our own galaxy there could be 250 billion stars, and in the nearest galaxy to us there could be 1 trillion stars, and each of those stars could have a solar system with planets revolving round just like us. In all of those stars, life could have formed just like us. And people are saying that we are the only known life in the universe. You really have to question that. And something that I've heard a lot on a lot of other YouTube videos and around the world is that when we think on those massive scales, people say how small and insignificant we are. And that really annoys me, because out of the whole known universe, we are the only known intelligent species that has actually built machines, left the planet, travelled out into space. If we've achieved such great things, how can we be small and insignificant? I really think we need to change people's way of thinking and perception that we are not insignificant, we are highly important. We are the only known intelligent life currently in the universe. So if these places are so far away and we can't travel to them, how can we look for other life? Well, unless you're an astrophysicist or a scientist, most of us don't have the tools to search for other intelligent life in the universe. And well, that's where you're wrong. Because if you have a PC, you could download a small application called Bionic, and running in conjunction with Seti at home, you could use your PC's free time or all its time to process signals from radio telescopes that have been searching the skies all around the world. For all the active PCs currently in the world, and all the world's population, when you look at the amount of active users on Seti at home, it's less than 1% of the world that is actively searching for other intelligent life. Why this is, I'm not quite sure. Perhaps people are not aware that they could be aiding in the search, or perhaps people already accept that there is other intelligent life, or perhaps a lot of people, like everything in life, think, well, that's somebody else's job and they'll take care of it. But with so many stars to search, I think that a lot of people would be surprised that they could really actively be helping and taking part. And that's what's really inspired me to do this video, to help spread the word about Seti at home, that we can all have an active part in the search for one of the greatest questions humanity's ever asked. Are we alone in the universe? Can we really be the only intelligent life outside of the Earth?